Ah, the French champagne.
Champagne!
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
Once they were men, now they are land crabs.
Amanda Bynes is a national treasure.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Hey, Daddy lost his eagle.
I hope
So-
no one from my family listens to this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is...
Bonjour mes amis, comment ça va aujourd'hui?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va?
Ici,
Ouais.
nous avons
Ça
un
va.
podcast, une podlet pour tous les hommes, seulement les hommes,
Oui.
qui listen to the podlet. Hi everyone. For those of you who don't speak Spanish,
Je m'appelle Jack.
that's Jack. We got Daniel,
Yeah, it's me. I'm Daniel.
Sean.
T'appelles Dan.
We didn't introduce ourselves in the other ones.
No, but
Anybody
they
who's listening to these knows who we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I don't know why we
It's just our
introduced
friends.
ourselves. Yeah. We had 16 downloads last week.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Today, we're going to talk to you in short form about another fun topic.
Yeah.
Today's topic is, does historical accuracy matter in films about historical things? And our guest star today is the guy hammering in the apartment above.
Oh, that fucking person, man.
Yeah.
It's driving me nuts.
He's firmly on historical accuracy matters, and he's going to hammer home his point.
Just like us.
Ooh.
And so, and sorry, is this question just for? You said about historical movies, but you're saying just in general. How does historical accuracy fit into film?
Yeah, does it matter? Like,
matter?
if you go and see a film, obviously it's going to be more pertinent to like, you know, you're watching fucking Braveheart, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking of Braveheart. That was a big one on the pod. But like,
And when you leave that film, do you feel like what has been presented, if it is wrong from what is historically true, is that a problem to you?
I don't know because I know that this was brought on by my whining about the Last Temptation of Christ, right?
Yeah.
And
I've
I've had some time to reflect
A fantasy
on that
film.
position,
To grow.
to learn, to ponder. I still. Here's my thing. So we have directors like Quentin Tarantino, who are very liberal about their revisionist history
Yeah.
in their movies.
Killing Hitler.
Killing Hitler, for one. There's another one he did recently,
Yeah. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Saving Sharon
Tate.
Tate.
Right. So, like, that does exist. I think that even between those two movies, it is a hard question to answer because in Inglourious Bastards, I think the movie is so good that I don't mind it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like it's the revisionist part of it. It's like, I don't know, it's like kind of the point of the movie.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I think that's different because the fact that they go so far as to go back and kill Hitler, that you know that the movie is fiction, right?
Totally.
And that's the tricky thing with Braveheart is that I don't have the knowledge that I don't know how.
Yeah. What
whatever-
swords they were using and what kilts they did or didn't wear.
Yeah, and so like as a kid, I was like, "This is history."
Yeah. Right.
Like
right.
Totally.
as a kid, and then as an adult, I'm like, "Yeah, it's a movie. It's Avatar."
And but there is always that thing of like, okay, you know, a movie's going to take some creative liberties for the sake of telling that particular story.
Sure.
To bring it back to my Tarantino comparison, when you take a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which feels more like the point of it is to kind of capture a moment in time, right?
Capture a feeling.
Capture
that
a feeling.
no longer exists.
Right. But for me, when that's the point, to then change major elements of history just because you can feels unnecessary and therefore kind of egregious. You know what I mean? Like, I did we watch that movie together? We did.
Yeah, we
right?
did. Yeah, you didn't really like it. If
I hated it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fucking meandering mess. I thought it was. I didn't see the point of it. I mean, I'm kind of distilling the point of it for myself now as I'm talking. But I don't know. Like, if you're gonna do it, I feel like it needs to kind of have a point beyond. I can do this. You know what I mean?
I don't really care. I'll give you my perspective. My thesis right now is historical accuracy doesn't matter, except there are like a few caveats that I'll bring up shortly. But with Quentin Tarantino, he's choosing historical moments that everybody knows. We all know Hitler didn't die in a theater shot up by like an American assault squad in Paris.
Right.
Do we?
Well, I mean, 100 years from now, who knows? We all know that Sharon Tate was, in fact, killed by members of Charles Manson's cult.
Right.
So these are, like, things we know happened.
To be fair,
yeah.
that isn't true.
No?
Not everybody knows that.
Really?
That is a lesser known.
Lesser than Hitler didn't die
Hitler
in a
is
French
very...
theater,
That
yeah.
story is
Lots of
very
people
widely
don't
known.
know-
I think a
don't
lot of
know
people are not
what's-
familiar
I
with the
guess.
Manson family
But
story.
it is a very important, pivotal moment of the 60s that ended the era of love and started an era of market supremacy and capitalism. And, you know, it's even though that event didn't cause that to happen, it is pointed at as like, this is kind of indicative that the love and the freedom that was experienced in the 60s is over, and now the violence and aggression of the 70s had begun. It's kind of something you can point to, right?
Okay, yeah.
So when you have those moments, a filmmaker can change that, and we know, like, that's fine, whatever. What I think is egregious and is bad from a filmmaking perspective is my example is the trial of the Chicago 7 recently. Fucking Aaron Sorkin, hack, who it centers around Abby Hoffman, who and a group of people who are all arrested in the 60s for they were charged with inciting a riot, this was a group of people who were anti-institutional. They hated the system of government that was going on. They wanted to break the system, completely destroy everything that had been built, and build something that was more communal and better. So they were arrested and so on. Aaron Sorkin writes the main character a speech in his film where he talks about how great the American system is and that it just needs a little bit of fixing, and we'll be right back and we can take pride in how America is, yada 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 yada. In the trial, one of the people used their time to read out the names of the war dead that week from Vietnam, including the North Vietnamese dead and everyone who had died in the war. They changed that in the movie to be just the American names.
Nice.
That is read. So when you are writing a film about a certain political ethos or, you know, a certain meaning, you're trying to drive at something, artistically speaking, and you change it completely to fit your own, like, understanding of the world, that is where I take issue with it. But if it's just like Braveheart, I really don't care if, like, he's wearing a wrong tartan, you know?
Oh, don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't care less.
Okay, now with that said, how do we feel about historical accuracy in stuff like biopics?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's no like particular message or like important point of view
Right.
trying to be conveyed through the movie, but it
depends on I think different biopics, for example, have different issues, right? So I know I don't really care for biopics that much, I'm gonna be honest, because I know that they're mostly a lie. Like I kind of would love for them to be more of a documentary. I'd actually be more fascinated.
Yeah.
But I know We Will Rock You? Is that no,
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. That's it. Anyway, but like, you know, that there's no discussion of, or very little at least, or presentation of Freddie's homosexuality, his queerness, and that like for a lot of people that's like not a bueno. You can't do that.
And they changed the timeline of his illnesses.
And they totally changed the whole movie.
Yeah, the movie-
the movie is completely false.
Yeah,
so what are you
it's-
doing?
Well, and this is the problem, right? Is that kind of going back to the Sharon Tate thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yes, creative license is fine. And yes, you know, as the filmmaker, you have a specific story you're telling, and you know, certain things might not be important or relevant, but you will have a large demographic of people, and this, I guess, is more relevant to biopics, who are watching these movies and interpreting them as fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and here's the thing, though, that the biopic thing is different than the Tarantino thing, because Tarantino is going, this is a fiction I wrote. It's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Whereas
Fair.
it's just about some random fuckery.
Yeah.
As opposed to these
Feet. A
biopic
lot of
movies
feet.
that are the feet. As opposed to being like, here's the story of Elton John. And
Yeah.
you're like, but here it isn't. Why
Right.
you should just write a new movie about an aspiring rock star who's inspired by Elton John, and you know, it's sort of based off of things in his life, but isn't, like, call it Rocket Man even.
Yeah.
So we know that it's inspired by Elton John, but don't name the character Elton John, because it's not his fucking story.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's where like the movie thing, you're just trying to get a cash grab on recognition and name recognition.
Yeah, totally.
What was your contention with Last Temperament of?
That they were speaking in like modern accents and like cadences.
And
That they were like, Jesus, come on.
yeah.
It was not.
I'm
like,
they were all-
Jesus
and
in
they were all, like,
Nazareth,
from
and here I
Brooklyn.
am. Yeah.
Well, and like here, I
you're
mean,
breaking my balls here, Jesus.
yeah. And I don't know. I think my main gripe with that wasn't so much that it wasn't historically accurate, because obviously everything in the Bible,
made up.
It's made up. I mean, and like even the elements that are like loosely based on things that actually happened. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Some
a
guy
real
wandered
thing.
around the desert, claimed he was the son of God.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it was more of a distraction. It felt lazy from a filmmaking perspective, because for me, I think that if you're gonna put a story in a certain place and time, then it serves you as a filmmaker, and it serves me as an audience to have certain cues like
Right.
accents to bring me into that world. And all that did was bring me out of that world, because I felt like I was watching a Scorsese movie as opposed to a movie
Right.
set in Israel.
But I,
Do you know what I mean?
I would say to counter that, if we had watched a 3 hour movie where they were speaking with like old timey phraseology, and we don't know what ancient like Hebrew really. I guess it still is that. But you would be bored to tears.
Sure.
you
And
would have
also
hated the film.
And
Well-
it just would have been inaccurate in a way that we wouldn't have. Sean, chill. It would have been inaccurate in a way that we wouldn't have known.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm not fighting for complete accuracy in the accent and dialect and language. I
Just not it sounding so much like
so modern,
Yeah.
so far removed from the place where I'm supposed to
like
be.
if Jesus was like, "Yo, my dad up in heaven, he's lit, fam."
Yeah.
you would be like, "Don't."
I mean,
And
that's
run
like,
a-
that's
and
not
run like
that
a-
extreme of a comparison, actually.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think that's
It is. I don't know, man. It was so contemporary, and the idioms they were using were so
had
far
heightened.
removed.
But it's the
Stuff
difference.
in it.
It's like
tricky one.
You don't in Canada. You don't go and watch a Shakespeare play, and you don't want them to have English accents. You don't want that. You want to hear people that sound like you saying these words. The words are different. So, like Scorsese could have written an ancient Hebrew script and translated it, or whatever, you know. But like if you go to the theater and you hear someone say, to be or not to be, that is the question, you think they're a piece of shit. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the language thing is the important point of what you're saying, I think.
Right.
Because to have no change in accent, and like that's fine, because the accent isn't really relevant to the story in most cases in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
What is relevant is the language.
Yeah.
What sets Shakespeare apart from any other playwright, or like you go to a Shakespeare play to listen to the language. So if you go to a Shakespeare play that has now been, translated into modern day English, you don't feel like you're watching a Shakespeare play.
Part of what I would agree with part of that, but
Which part?
the part of people going to listen to language. I don't think that's majority true. I don't think most people know why they go to Shakespeare plays. Is my first thought. But
Okay, that's maybe fair.
Generally, they're going because they think they really like Romeo and Juliet. They read it in high school, and they think that they are smart because they say that. Like, there's a lot of weird reasons people go to. It's a lot of Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing. But there's a lot going into it. I don't think most people are going. I love to listen to the weird poetry talk. I don't think that's true.
I don't know, man.
A lot of people.
Yeah, I think
not
a lot
everyone,
of people,
but a lot of people.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say most.
No, but maybe not most.
I think it's mostly brand recognition.
Sure, but the brand of Shakespeare is the language.
Sure, that's part of the brand. 100%.
So without
Anyway,
that, it's not Shakespeare.
Yeah,
I think.
The thing I want to get off Last Temperament in a second, but like, I think
Temptation.
whatever.
I have last temperament.
I clearly don't.
The last
care.
temper tantrum.
Just an angry
of
Jesus.
Christ.
The last, the last boohoo. I have a boohoo. What is it, Jesus? What's the problem? What's your boohoo? What's your boohoo, Jesus? I got a nail in
my hands and in my feet.
Okay, you show me where those boohoos are, Jesus, and I'll fix those up real quick.
You're my son.
Hey, Jesus, it's me, God. And I'm just here to say, you're dead. You're going to die for me, but you're going to die without their sins. Okay. But at least it was like a consistent, like it felt like that movie was at least through one like translation filter.
Sure.
Which I didn't mind more than other movies that have like sporadic voices sounding like whatever they want. Okay, the point that I would love to transition to is something that I've griped about for a while now, and this still happens now, and it's actually, I think, quite toxic, which is what I call selective historical accuracy. It's one of the ways that the film industry likes to stay a bit racist.
Yeah, sure.
Which is where, like, my story that actually happened was I did some background dancing on a show called Rain about Mary Queen of Scots. It was filmed in Toronto. And so I did some dance stuff, and then my friend, who was the choreographer, was like, "Hey, I'm looking for someone. Do you know anyone? I'm looking for another guy." And I recommended a friend of mine who is he's from Jamaica, so he's black. Just in case that's not clear. And she was like, "Resume looks great. He's clearly super talented. Can't use him." And I was like, "Why?" And they were like, "Well, they won't. This like shitty fucking WB show or whatever they are, CW, sorry, wouldn't allow that." Because of the quote unquote historical accuracy. And I'm like, but these costumes are all fucked, and she has like nice skin and like a full set of teeth. Like,
but there were
her hairdos are modern because you want her to look sexy.
Well, and like, show me a movie about Egypt with a black person in it.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's the thing. And I go like, that's where I get kind of fucking annoyed, is that I don't want it to be about historical accuracy unless I'm watching Selma.
Right.
And it's like,
unless it's about the racial issues of that time.
Yeah, in which case I don't want to see Scarlett
there
Johansson.
were no black people in 12th century Scotland, right?
Were you there? And
Fuck
also,
off,
do
who
I
cares?
give a shit?
Yeah, like it's just a fucking movie.
It's just about stories, you nard. And so I appreciate that there's been enough pushback on that there are things like Bridgerton and stuff where it's just like, people go, "Oh, it's about the stories and the costumes are fun." But if you're hung up on skin color, like, you just need to like learn to have an imagination again.
I will be pushing in a schlock category against something. The John Wayne, I guess, biopic about Genghis Khan called The Conqueror.
Yes.
Is it pronounced Genghis Khan?
You can Genghis or Genghis is fine.
Okay, I never heard
But,
it.
I call him Gengis.
Genghis.
Like Ginger Can.
But he plays Genghis Khan in like Orange Face.
He sure does.
Yep.
You saying we want that?
I'm going to pitch that.
I would like it very much.
Yeah.
So
Garbage.
how do we give that a fighting chance against anything?
I think it's just funny.
All right, I mean, I'll watch it for sure.
We'll find some other weird thing.
But I mean, yeah, like the race thing is a huge one. But I mean, I guess the counter to that is, if race isn't important, then how important is it to make sure you have the appropriate representation in something like a movie set in ancient Egypt? where you don't want to cast Sigourney Weaver and
Right.
fucking Joel Edgerton. You want to cast, you know what I mean? Like it has to go both ways.
Yeah. Well, I think at that
think-
point, is it those filmmakers' story to tell? Is Gods of Egypt something that, like, that group of people, as entertaining as that film is, was that really the film that should have been made by that group of people?
I mean, how dare you speak ill of Gods of Egypt?
Yeah.
I also don't know that I would put that in a conversation about historical accuracy,
No.
because it is
It's
Power
a
Rangers
Power
in
Rangers
Egypt.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a Power Rangers
that,
film.
I think that is different, but I see your
Yeah.
point. I think yes,
Yeah.
whose story is it to tell, and that I think is an important conversation in general.
I mean,
I don't know.
Honestly, like in terms of like something like Gods of Egypt, or even the stupid Ridley Scott thing, I honestly don't really care. I don't think it should be
The Last
all.
Duel?
No, the one in the Egypt one.
No,
the one about
oh, what was it?
the one about Moses.
Yeah, it
Oh.
wasn't called Moses. Was it called Moses?
Noah.
No, Noah was Russell Crowe. This was it had Joel Edgerton and Sigourney Weaver. It was the one that I was
Christian Bale or
and Christian
something, right?
Bale.
Oh, yeah, that movie came and went, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it came under a lot of fire for this
right,
exact
'cause-
conversation, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so that one less so.
Exodus.
Yes, it is Exodus.
Exodus. Now he knows it.
Yeah, I watched
But something
it. It
like
was
Gods of Egypt, like it's clearly not. I mean, Gerard Butler is just anyway
Scottish.
but like I don't care.
from
Like I
Egypt.
truly don't care, because it's just about telling this story, and like I do crave a world where just different stories can be told. We just need to, like, first and
We're not
foremost,
there.
we're not there, right? So right now, especially, we need to make sure that we're not just capitalizing on other people's cultures and stuff too much, and not using, while also using, selective historical accuracy to kick people
prevent
out.
them,
Yeah,
yeah.
prevent them from being in it. When it's like, well, this is our story. This is one set in England, and there weren't actually. It's like, but you just made these movies. For the last 150 years. Not 150. How long have movies existed? 150.
Oh, yeah,
Almost 150, yeah.
Nice. I that's why I said that. I knew that, and I nailed it.
Fucking nailed it.
You know what I mean? We haven't cared about that all the way through then, so it's just pure racism to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
When for the first, like, 50 years of film history, a lot of white people just wore blackface to to be black people.
yeah. Or it was like,
As
well, we don't.
recently as like the 80s, actually.
Yeah.
Have you seen Anthony Hopkins play Othello?
Othello, right. Forgot about that.
I mean, Awana.
Oh, dude, it's good performance. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but it is weird to see that in, like, I think it's like mid
In the
80s.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. The final thing is also, in a movie, I actually love it when a movie does the work and you can almost feel in it the historical accuracy being there. Certain war movies do really. Again, 1917 was actually a really satisfying movie to see. It felt really genuine, whether it's true or not.
War movies are tricky because you have to be so vigilant about the perspective that you're being given.
Yeah.
And I was raised on war movies, and going back and
Well, we
watching
watched
some of those,
Saving Private Ryan is a bit funny to watch now.
it is a bit funny to watch. Although, like, there are moments that where, you know, when the Czechs come out and they're like, we're Czech, and they just blow their heads off anyways. And you're like, oh, right, shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always a narrative and all those movies that I grew up watching where, like, the great British military triumphs over the heathen Zulus or something like
Yeah.
that. You're like, so it probably didn't go down like this.
No. It was more like you just shot a bunch of people on a field.
Yeah.
So, for the most part, though, I don't care about historical accuracy at all. I'd rather we just pretend and acknowledge that we don't really know
Tell a
much.
story.
Tell a story, and we don't really know much about history. Like, history is like
Tell a story.
super biased anyway.
And if you're using history to tell that story, don't warp the history to suit your narrative, I guess, is the end point.
Django is the other Tarantino one that I would put in.
Django.
There's a dramatic retelling.
Yeah.
But it's again, I like his version because it's not history.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the point is, like, this one feels a little more cut and dry because, I don't know,
Yeah.
feels like we're all on the same page.
We have
in
a
that, like,
definitive answer.
yeah, like, it is important if the point of the movie is trying to tell the actual story of what happened.
Yeah.
And if it is just a story set in a certain place and time, then there's some more freedom and leeway. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Unless it's a biopic, in which case, fuck off, get it right,
Take that, Ray.
or don't do it. I haven't seen Ray, but I heard it's quite good.
It's very good.
It's
Yeah.
very, very
I don't know how
very good.
accurate it is, but like,
Dewey Cox, also a good biopic.
so good,
Great biopic.
so good. I'm fucking sworn off biopics after fucking Bohemian Rhapsody though. It was so I couldn't believe it was just so egregious, and the amount of people that I've spoken to who loved that movie.
Yep. Well, they
In
love the music.
spite of like
Yeah.
knowing, I'll have the conversation with them and be like, hey, like that most, maybe 90% of what happened in that movie is a lie, right?
No,
and they're like, but I love the music.
You hope people will love it so much that they will go and do their own research and realize who Freddie Mercury was. But
Nah.
we have all of the information of all of time at our fingertips right now. You'd think someone would go and use it, but
Do we?
no.
Do we have any information at all? I'm less confident these days than ever.
That we have any accurate information?
Well, because all like history was as they say, like the beginning idea of like it's written by the victor, like that
Right.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then a lot of people's histories of certain individuals is based off of like their own journals and stuff that they wrote. Essentially, like
Yeah.
it's like going back to someone's Instagram.
I mean, good
and being like, this is what their life was.
good historians use that, but then find umpteen thousand other
Yeah.
primary documents to weigh them against.
There are like a dozen individuals that we have like a pretty clear idea about.
Sure.
Is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Jesus.
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 Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. And
That's about it. And Genghis Khan.
Well,
Genghis
who
Kanani.
would be like a no longer living historical figure that we actually feel like we have a pretty clear picture on?
clear picture of an historical figure.
Yeah, like an accurate idea of what their life and like legacy was.
Like probably like someone like Napoleon.
Yeah, I was going to say Napoleon. I think
Okay.
you can construct, because there were so many people around him who outlived him, and
It was an era of people writing in letters
Yeah.
and this. There's a lot of stuff, and
you can construct, and he was a very like honest person who obviously changed the public narrative when it suited him in his own interest, but there's documentation of that from other people to go off of. So
Right.
yeah,
if you wanted to, you could get it pretty
Napoleon.
good. But then it's still influenced by people's perception, like you mentioned, fucking what's his face writing about the trial,
Yeah.
and people still want to impose their like. It's really tricky.
That's crazy that happened so recently.
yeah, it's a bad movie. And it's Sacha Baron Cohen and Eddie Redmayne, and they're all just swinging for their Oscars and just masturbating on screen for everyone to watch. It's real bad. It's real bad.
Feels weird seeing Sacha Baron Cohen in a dramatic turn.
Yeah, and especially because they all thought they were like being great progressives or something like that, really sticking it to Donald Trump and the nasty Republicans by whitewashing an entire progressive history to fit their centrist bullshit narrative.
God damn it.
Yeah. Anywho,
Woo!
we solved it. Congrats.
We solved it.
solved
we got one.
I would say
guys.
this one this week solved.
Solved. That's my solve stamp noise.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
We don't need to
Let's
put one
make that
in
a
post.
thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be. Get ready for the solve stamp. A lot
Yeah.
on these podlets. Look
I mean,
out.
we're 1 for 3 right now. So.
we're 1 for 3, but we're gonna be 3 for 5 soon.
Sick.
Take it away, Daniel.
I don't know if I want this to be I just don't. It's gonna make people stop listening. So that
Well, it's
helps.
the end of the podcast.
Yeah, they should stop. They should turn it off. All right, like and subscribe or whatever.
Podlet.